Every day in India, millions of people buy bottled water believing it is the safest choice. But behind familiar labels and sealed caps, serious quality issues are often ignored. Today, we expose the bottled water brands Indians should stop drinking.
12. Rail Neer. Rail Neer is one of the most widely consumed bottled water brands in India, especially by train passengers who assume government association means safety. Millions of Indians drink Rail Neer every day without hesitation, believing it to be strictly regulated and consistently monitored across the country. The reality is that Rail Neer is bottled across multiple plants in different regions, and quality can vary significantly depending on location. Water treatment, bottling conditions, and storage standards are not uniform nationwide. In a country as large and climatically diverse as India, this inconsistency matters more than most consumers realize. Another concern is storage and handling. Rail Neer bottles often sit for long periods in railway stations, trains, and depots exposed to extreme heat. Prolonged heat exposure can degrade plastic bottles and affect water quality. Consumers trust the name, not the conditions the bottle has passed through before reaching their hands.
11. Bailey. Bailey is a popular bottled water brand in India, especially in urban areas where affordability drives purchasing decisions. Many consumers choose Bailey because it is easily available and competitively priced, assuming bottled water is automatically safe regardless of brand. Bailey is produced through a wide network of bottling units, and quality control can vary from plant to plant. The purification process, source water quality, and bottling standards are not clearly communicated to consumers. This lack of transparency makes it difficult to know what standards are actually being followed. Storage and distribution add another layer of concern. Bailey bottles are often transported and stored in high temperatures for extended periods. In India's climate, prolonged heat exposure increases the risk of plastic degradation and compromised water quality, long before the bottle is ever opened.
10. Catch Natural Spring Water. Catch Natural Spring Water is marketed as a premium option, appealing to Indian consumers who want something perceived as cleaner and more natural. The word spring creates a strong assumption of purity, leading many people to believe this water is fundamentally safer than regular bottled water. However, very little is clearly communicated about the actual source and how consistently it is monitored. Consumers are not given detailed information about how the water is treated after extraction or how purity is maintained during bottling. The branding emphasizes nature, but transparency remains limited. Another concern is storage and shelf life. Like most bottled water in India, catch bottles are often exposed to heat during transport and retail storage. When water marketed as natural is handled under harsh conditions, the promise on the label no longer reflects what ends up in the bottle.
9. Bisleri Vedica. Bisleri Vedica is positioned as a premium bottled water brand in India, marketed as being sourced from the Himalayas. The branding suggests purity, exclusivity, and superior quality, which leads many consumers to trust it without asking deeper questions. Despite the premium image, there is limited consumer-facing information about how the water is monitored after extraction. Details about bottling conditions, batch testing, and long-term storage are not clearly communicated. Consumers are asked to trust the story, not the data. Another issue is distribution. Bisleri Vedica bottles travel long distances across India and often sit in warehouses and retail shelves for extended periods. Heat exposure and prolonged storage can impact water quality, regardless of how pure the source may be at the origin.
8. Kinley. Kinley is one of the most commonly consumed bottled water brands in India, found everywhere from roadside shops to large supermarkets. Its widespread availability creates a sense of reliability, leading consumers to assume that consistency and safety are guaranteed. The concern with Kinley lies in scale. The brand operates through multiple bottling partners across the country, and quality can vary depending on the facility. While purification standards exist on paper, consumers have no visibility into how uniformly those standards are applied in practice. Storage and handling further complicate the issue. Kinley bottles are frequently stored in open areas, exposed to direct sunlight and high temperatures. In India's climate, prolonged heat exposure can affect both the plastic bottle and the water inside long before it reaches the consumer. 7. Aquafina. Aquafina is marketed as a clean, purified bottled water option in India, backed by a global brand name. Many consumers associate international branding with higher safety standards and assume the water must be superior because it comes from a multinational company. The issue with Aquafina is heavy processing. The water is stripped of its natural mineral content and then reprocessed to achieve a standardized taste. This creates consistency, but it also removes any sense of natural balance. What you drink is engineered water, not water valued for its source. There is also limited transparency for Indian consumers about local sourcing and bottling conditions. Aquafina is bottled in multiple locations across the country, and storage conditions vary widely. In high heat and long distribution chains, the final quality depends less on branding and more on handling, which remains largely invisible to buyers. 6. Kingfisher water. Kingfisher water is often chosen because the brand feels familiar and lifestyle-oriented. Many Indian consumers associate the name with leisure and premium experiences, which creates an automatic sense of trust when buying the bottled water. The main concern is that the brand relies on outsourced bottling and large-scale distribution. This means water is processed and packaged across different facilities, where consistency in purification and hygiene standards can vary. Consumers have no clear way to verify how uniform those standards really are. Storage is another issue. Kingfisher water bottles are frequently stored for long periods in hot conditions, especially at events, shops, and warehouses. In India's climate, extended heat exposure can affect both the bottle and the water long before it is finally consumed. 5. OxyRich. OxyRich is marketed as a functional bottled water brand in India, promoted for its added oxygen and lifestyle appeal. The branding targets health-conscious consumers who believe they are getting something better than regular bottled water. The problem is that the oxygenated water claim offers no clear practical benefit once the bottle is opened. Oxygen escapes quickly, making the feature largely a marketing hook rather than a meaningful improvement in water quality. Consumers pay more for a label, not a proven advantage. There is also limited transparency around sourcing and storage. Like many bottled waters in India, OxyRich travels long distances and is often stored in high heat. When marketing focuses on novelty instead of handling and consistency, real quality becomes secondary. 4. Tata Copper Plus. Tata Copper Plus is marketed as a health-focused bottled water option, promoted with added copper and wellness claims. The Tata name gives Indian consumers a strong sense of credibility, leading many to assume the product is inherently superior to regular bottled water. The concern lies in the concept itself. Adding minerals like copper turns water into a functional product, yet consumers are not clearly informed about dosage, consistency, or long-term consumption considerations. What is framed as a benefit is largely a marketing differentiation rather than a necessity. There is also limited clarity around sourcing and bottling consistency. Like other bottled waters, Tata Copper Plus is distributed widely across India and stored in varying conditions. Heat exposure and long shelf life raise questions that branding alone does not answer. 3. Himalayan. Himalayan is marketed as one of the purest bottled water options in India, strongly associated with pristine mountain sources and premium quality. The branding creates a powerful image of untouched nature, leading consumers to believe the water is automatically cleaner and safer. The issue is that source alone does not guarantee final quality. Once extracted, the water must be bottled, transported, and stored across long distances. Very little information is provided to consumers about ongoing quality checks, batch testing, or how purity is maintained throughout this entire process. Another concern is storage. Himalayan water often sits for extended periods in warehouses, hotels, and retail shelves, sometimes exposed to heat. In India's climate, prolonged storage can affect water quality, regardless of how pure the source may be at the origin.
2. McDowell's No. 1 Water. McDowell's No. 1 Water benefits heavily from brand familiarity. Many Indian consumers recognize the name instantly and assume that recognition alone implies reliability and acceptable standards. The water is often chosen casually, without much thought, simply because the brand feels established. The concern lies in scale and positioning. McDowell's No. 1 Water is produced for mass consumption, where cost efficiency and wide distribution are key priorities. When production is optimized for volume, strict consistency in purification and bottling becomes harder to guarantee across all locations. Storage and handling further add to the risk. Bottles are commonly transported and stored in high-temperature environments for long periods. In India's heat, prolonged exposure can affect both the plastic and the water inside, long before the consumer opens the bottle.
1. Bisleri. Bisleri is the most dominant bottled water brand in India, trusted by millions every single day. For many consumers, Bisleri is not just a brand, it is the default definition of bottled water. That level of familiarity makes people stop questioning quality altogether. The main concern with Bisleri is scale. The brand operates through an extensive network of bottling plants across the country, and consistency depends heavily on local execution. While standards exist, consumers have no visibility into how uniformly purification, hygiene, and testing are enforced across all locations. Storage and distribution add another layer of risk. Bisleri bottles are often stored in open trucks, roadside shops, and warehouses exposed to intense heat. In India's climate, prolonged heat exposure can impact both the bottle and the water inside, long before it reaches the consumer's hands. If this helped you see bottled water in India differently, subscribe to the channel. We break down everyday products, cut through marketing claims, and help you make smarter, more informed choices every time you shop.